what is going to be our independent system of sanctions if and when we have left the European Union. That's the key point. And I must confess that I am somewhat sceptical about the value of having an independent sanctions regime, because the whole point of sanctions is that when you can work in concert with your closest allies, you are far more likely to achieve success than if you simply try to go it alone. I think this is nowhere more large than in relation to Russia. For many years, individual countries of the European Union resisted a shared sanctions regime in relation to Russia because some countries wanted to continue taking gas and oil from Russia. Some countries wanted a strong political relationship. The leader, Mr. Berlusconi in Italy, wanted to go to parties with President Putin, and so on. So it was very difficult for us to achieve a shared sanctions regime in relation to Russia. And it was only when Russia started using gas and oil as a means of oppressing Estonia, Lithuania and Latvia that actually the European Union decided to act in concert. And the UK repeatedly went to European Council meetings, and Prime Ministers Cameron and now our present Prime Minister repeatedly said it's been great. We've been able to persuade the European Union to adopt the sanctions that we wanted. And as a united body in Europe, I think we've been able to achieve far more than we will be able to if we're going it alone. So I welcome the comments from the Minister today that in the future we are in the main going to adopt the same sort of, I will in a moment, the same kind of measures as the rest of the European Union. My anxiety is that it may be difficult for us outside the European Union, unless there is some manner of working with the European Union, of persuading them to adopt the kind of sanctions regime that we're interested in. I think the honourable member wanted to.
Grateful to the honourable gentleman. It's always worth hearing him on these subjects. I just simply make one other point, though. It is not all sweetness of light, and by no means, the Germans' behaviour over Nord Stream 2 is actually going to break the whole sanctions regime, and nothing seems to happen from the Commission.
The honourable member has virtually, the right honourable member has virtually stolen the words out of my mouth, because he's absolutely right. But my anxiety is that when we're no longer in that room, it's going to be much more difficult for the UK to be able to secure the outcome that we want in relation to Nord Stream 2. So I hope that the government will manage to find some future means of establishing a strong relationship. I do worry about the Magnitsky process, and that I hear what the Minister is saying, but I've heard two ministers speak on this subject matter since the House unanimously passed measures that the government didn't really want to include in the bill. And since then, we still... I know the Minister put them in the end, but I'm not sure that he was the most enthusiastic member of the House to adopt... He can puff out his chest as much as he wants. He's still not going to persuade me that he was quite there with the rest of us. And we still haven't got them in place, is the point. And that's what. And as the Minister referred to the matter of the Magnitsky points, I hope that we will manage to get this very quickly. Not least because Bill Browder, yet again today, has been told that the Russians intend to press a seventh charge with Interpol.
I did say we could open the envelope. I didn't mean we had to completely open every page of it. What I say, it isn't about Russia. We have allowed a little bit of movement. What I would say is we do need to get a lot of those speakers in. Chris Bryant.
And I'm very close to finishing. You're quite right, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'm very grateful. The one other point I'd simply make in relation to Venezuela is I'm going to defend my honourable friend for Bishop Auckland, because, to be honest, the honourable member for Fylde, he knows that he and I agree on nearly every aspect of the relationship with many different countries in Latin America, including Venezuela. I think that country is not only perpetuating poverty on its people, its politicians have completely let down its people, but it's also endangering war and civil war across the whole of the Andean region, and that is dangerous. But in all honesty, the member for Bishop Auckland was agreeing with him, not disagreeing with him, so I very much hope that they will kiss and make up later. And with that, I'll finish.
Sir John Redmond.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I'll be very brief.